Go to the ends of the earth.
Right now.
We got something crazy.
And reach for the stars.
Here we are.
Time.
Yes, it's my comeback.
Hey, this is pretty fun.
But wait, there's more.
Experience thought-provoking,
I'm open to the idea of being a human being.
innovative, and truly original reporting.
Look through a telescope and go, wow.
Because there's always something new under the sun on CBS Sunday morning.
At this moment, terrorists could be plotting another attack.
9/11 triggered a counter-terrorist system that included a secret database.
This person needs a closer look.
A growing list of nearly 2 million people, including some Americans who say they're innocent.
For 1 hour flight, I have to spend 6 hours to go and come back.
CBS Reports explores the system, the people responsible for it, and those pushing for change.
I'm not fighting against them. I'm fighting for them to do the right thing.
The Watch List, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
Don't miss true crime anytime you want, anywhere you go. With the 48 Hours podcast. Real crimes, real lives, real justice.
There's some questions that have to be asked and need to be answered.
Listen to 48 Hours on Apple Podcasts.
An original documentary from CBS Reports.
Imagine yourself in Manhattan with no police, no army, no mayor.
The people of Haiti stare down poverty, corruption, natural disasters, and violence.
90% of the guns that are used by gangs in Haiti are American guns.
But with an unbreakable spirit and eternal optimism.
There are days where I cry, but we can't be discouraged. We still believe in Haiti.
They're still able to look ahead with hope.
Haiti is on the brink of transformation, a radical shift. Haitians are coming together and saying things must change.
Fighting for Haiti, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
Hey there, welcome to The Uplift.
I thought she was a groom, and I stepped back and I went, oh, you're the queen. She's gonna be with me every instant that I'm alive.
I just wanted to see if you'd go to Disneyland with me today.
I look over at him and he's smiling.
I'm gonna remember that the rest of my life.
They told us when he was gonna be born, he was only gonna live for 30 minutes. It's really a miracle that he's with us today.
The Uplift, stream now on the free CBS News app.
When you wake up in the morning, we want to be your go-to team.
On our places, bright, shiny faces.
I don't go to work in the morning. I go for coffee with my 2 good friends, and we talk about the world.
Your morning routine just got better. CBS Mornings.
A CBS News investigation. People looking for love, finding their life savings gone.
This could happen to anybody.
And sometimes losing their lives. Anything for love. Now streaming on the free CBS News app.
You're looking at Atlanta, and we are just minutes away from the first presidential debate. A lot will happen on the stage there, and our team here will fact check what the candidates say. Chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett is leading that effort. Major, I think it's going to be a busy night for you.
It's going to be a busy night. Look, the campaigns and the candidates will fact check themselves. But we have a team of journalists that we have built here at CBS, not for just this debate, Nora, but for the entire campaign and for everything that falls into the disinformation, misinformation space. Forensic journalists.
90 minutes. They have huge, long records.
Yes.
Promises made in the evening. We have a record against which we can check them, whether they're just blowing smoke or whether they've put together a team and a vision to execute that idea. Because these two candidates have been tested in the job and facing the reality that tonight might get into fantasy.
And how do you characterize each other's record? Each president has 4 years, nearly 4 years for Joe Biden, a full 4 years for President Trump. And if they wade into that and they mischaracterize that, we will be there to describe what is or isn't true.
What we see in our polling so often, though, is the short memories Americans have.
Sure.
And so it's not just fact-checking, it's reminding people that when they tried to recast Donald Trump as Ronald Reagan, peace through strength, well, actually, he tried to pull troops out of Germany, South Korea, and Japan. That it is not about America fighting wars now, as Donald Trump will say. America's not actively involved in wars. We're just in such a different information space, and I think that's what's fascinating about what you're doing here, Major, where we are not just fact-checking and elevating truth. We have to actively bring down untruth and tell you, no, this is wrong, this is why it's wrong, because that eco-space out there is spreading these untruths in ways, in outlets other than ours.
We are moments away from this debate. Let's get a quick check-in with Nancy Cordes and Robert Costa there in Atlanta. Nancy?
Nora, the president is going to want to talk about a range of issues tonight: reproductive rights, taxes, the economy. But first and foremost, he wants to make the case that Donald Trump is too dangerous to allow back into the Oval Office. He'll say he's now a convicted felon, that he inspired the January 6th insurrectionists, that he admires dictators, that he's under indictment here in Georgia in this very county, Fulton County. That is the overarching case that he's looking to make in the next 90 minutes.
Nancy Cordes, thank you. Robert Costa, you are there in the spin room as well. Final thoughts.
I just was speaking to some Trump campaign advisors, and they said this is all about former President Trump trying to win over those Nikki Haley Republicans. He's already got his base, but can his temperament tonight, his personality, his answers on really important policy issues, can it convince independents, traditional Republicans, those who have skepticism about him, to give him another shot, a full look? We'll see. 90 minutes, it's political war between these two.
Robert Costa, thank you very much. And, you know, I'm anxiously awaiting what's going to happen, because I do feel like this is going to be not only a clash of personality, but hopefully a clash of ideas about not only their own records, but what they'll do in the future.
And, you know, Nora, one of the things that comes back to me again and again is how serious the issues are that are facing the country right now. And that it has to be more than a tweet or a bumper sticker, and that we are excited there's a debate when that used to be the very basic expectation of what voters were required to hear, an actual cogent, explanation of what someone was offering when they were arguing to be your commander-in-chief.
And when there's a bipartisan agreement on immigration about how to do that, where Democrats went the most conservative that they've ever gotten and pushed them there, and they still couldn't get a deal done.
Americans can steal this debate back from the political system and say, they didn't answer my questions, they didn't talk about what I want, and demand that from the candidates. They don't have to take what's being fed tonight.
All right. Thanks to all of you, and our coverage of the CNN presidential debate will continue momentarily here on CBS News 24/7 and on your local CBS station. Up next, the next and first presidential debate.
Okay, so let's just start at the beginning.
Well, let me start with this. What is at stake here?
What is the answer then?
Do you know why? You want me to just keep going?
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Were there death threats?
How is this possible?
What's wrong with that argument?
Are you saying they lied?
Have you told the government that? Why won't you say the word crisis?
You're not answering my question.
This really
is that scary?
Does that make sense?
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Did any of that make sense?
Have you What's your response?
What happened?
Why?
It's time for the CBS News Original 60 Minutes, Sunday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
There is no more room in our city.
New York City is receiving record numbers of migrants.
Today, we're going to have more than 500 adults and children come through that door.
Tensions rise as shelters reach max capacity.
We don't have to take care of them.
CBS Reports goes inside a crisis cities and families are facing as they fight to survive.
The United States still has a glimmer of hope for people to come here.
Fighting for a
Twitter,
future,
YouTube.
now streaming on the free CBS News app.
On Face the Nation, the way to learn is to listen.
We may have a recession.
Listening to how someone explains themselves is so key to understanding their perspective.
An original documentary from CBS Reports.
Since you started La Soup in 2014, do you have any sense as to how much food you've rescued from the landfill?
We've rescued 4.5 million pounds.
I can't even fathom how much food that is.
And that's one little person in one little city in America. We're going to call this chicken piccata. We did 450 of these meals today.
This is the exact dish
Yep,
you and I are going to have.
Yep.
Oh, really good.
Is it good?
Mm-hmm.
Having a plan of how to keep people fed should be in every single city.
So if we eliminated food waste, could we eliminate
hunger? Yes.
Eating Trash, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
America Decides, taking you inside American democracy.
The most important stories on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis.
You're going to hear a lot of reporting.
It is clearly a pivotal moment.
Gun control, the economy, education. Both sides of the political aisle fight it out for power.
Bringing you the analysis that you need.
Thoughtfully, with context.
Be part of the conversation.
On CBS News streaming.
Welcome to America Decides.
All right, MAGA baby, love from Canada. We was just
People
next
say
to
who's
Canada.
first to get in the morning? That would be me. Morning news
Well, not
matters
just,
because
but,
it sets
you know,
the tone for your day.
Detroit is
and
pretty
it's a
close
way
to
of getting
Canada,
you
like
started.
right
Day
across
to
the
day,
river.
that first draft of history, it happens right here.
We're going to uplift you. We're going to send you out your way.
We take you places, we teach you new things, and we make you feel like, you know, it's not all bad.
People say to me, you always seem to be having a good time. And you know what? You're right.
Your morning routine just got better. CBS Mornings, weekdays at 7.
How is Texas treating y'all? My family and I love it here. Texas has been great. The weather's been super hot. The people have been super nice.
In the history
We done got super black.
This is
We're
a
cousins.
CBS
Both countries
News
need saving.
special,
Indeed.
America Decides.
Well, we ain't
in
black.
first presidential
Right.
debate. Now
We
reporting,
just got
Nora O'Donnell.
dark.
Good evening. We are just moments away from one of the most consequential events of this presidential campaign. President Biden and former President Trump face off in the first debate of the general election, the two meeting for the first time since 2020. They will outline their contrasting visions for America. This is also a chance for you, the voters, to judge the candidates in one of the only face-to-face confrontations before the election. Our CBS News team will be back after the debate for analysis and fact-checking.
That's not
now
a good
to
sign.
Atlanta for the first presidential debate hosted by CNN.
Yeah.
Each will make his case.
Not a dog trying to eat it. Not a dog got to go in the cage.
Until Election Day.
I'm sorry, but I ain't break it. I just chipped it a little
Anchor
bit.
of CNN's Inside Politics and co-anchor
Super black.
of
Yeah, I know,
State of the
right?
Union.
I'm Jake Tapper, anchor of CNN's The Lead and co-anchor of State of the Union. Dana and I will co-moderate this evening. Our job is to facilitate a debate between the two candidates tonight. Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules of the debate with the audience at home. Former President Trump will be on the left side of the screen.
Stay out the way.
President Biden will be appearing on the right. A coin toss determined their positions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer a question and 1 minute each for responses and rebuttals. An additional minute for follow-up, clarification, or response is at the moderator's discretion.
Oh, poor puppy.
When it's time for a candidate
It's my
to
fault.
speak,
It's my
his
fault.
microphone will be turned
If I
on.
would
His
if I wouldn't have dropped the
microphone
thing,
will
I'm
be
over here
turned
trying to get my
Should
setup
a candidate interrupt
together.
when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end of the
Just
debate,
trying to-
each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements. There is no studio audience tonight. Pre-written notes,
Right.
props, or
No
contact
audience,
with
'cause they
campaign
knew that
staff
the-
are not permitted during the debate. By accepting and their campaigns agreed to accept these rules.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the
maybe that
United
is.
States,
Oh,
Joe
look,
Biden.
it's Granddaddy.
Look at him. Oh, he's not on focus.
He was finna wave at nobody. He was finna wave at nobody.
What?
And please
What is he saying?
President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Hold on.
The economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president. What Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that
he made me want to.
The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed.
Wow.
No jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out a position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs.
Yeah.
But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during
That's
the month,
beside the
was a
point.
problem. The price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, there were things.
He's clearly reading. He's
chaos.
clearly reading.
And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we.
He's lying already. I know, right?
We brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you, President Trump.
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce-back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you, President Biden.
Well, look, the greatest
when he say he created jobs, he created jobs for people to get double jobs. They need 2 jobs and a side hustle because the economy's so bad.
Is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion.
Yep.
He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant. And the military, you know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Trump's face.
Respond to him.
Well, I'm going to ask you to follow up. You can do
respond to
whatever you want
that.
with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing. And they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it.
Biden looked like Homelander.
Which a lot of people don't like to talk about.
That's not
but
good.
We had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine.
Because he's like,
and he did a very
cut him
poor
off.
job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you,
look at that
not
smirk.
only poor there, but throughout the entire world,
It's like he got a
we're no
stroke or
longer
something.
respected as a country. They don't respect
How do you
our
smile
leadership.
one side of
They
your
don't
face?
respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden,
I'm surprised they ain't cut him off.
Opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. When I fix the tax system, for example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers,
sheesh,
$500 million, billion dollars, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary
Biden is slow.
Eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare,
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
And then he stop.
Well, he's right. He
Stop
did
him.
beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying
Oh,
Medicare.
Lord. It's not
It's
about to get bad.
They're putting them on
It's about to
Medicare.
get
They're putting
bad.
them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid.
No, he's
They think
serious.
we're
We
very
watching him
stupid
decline.
people.
They talking about dude just had a stroke.
And they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Tana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, and getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision it was an end result. It was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states
there's a blink.
That's the vote
I was
of the
getting
people.
dry.
Like Ronald Reagan,
Wait, I got dry
I
eyes.
believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of the child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Yeah, Trump had a pretty good stance on abortion. He even said, you got to play politics.
The terrible thing he
The
said.
vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe.
Different teleprompter he looking at.
That's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule.
Why are we bringing up civil rights when it comes to abortion?
Including
Is it because he's trying to talk to the Negroes right now?
Yeah, he is.
And he went to the funeral.
Ladies.
The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal: there's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, by
Women are raped by sisters? And they get pregnant? Is that what he just said?
Hold on, this guy, yes, he did. This guy's,
many young women
bro,
murdered.
Trump just said, with the exceptions of rape, incest, and something else. And he's like, oh, but it's happening. He just said that's the exception.
Anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country.
Right, then you bring up the immigrant. You brought him here.
And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion's concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which, frankly, they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states.
Of course, they got the woman doing it.
I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians.
He answered the question.
He definitely didn't.
Making decisions on a woman's health is ridiculous. That's the last.
Beating around the bush.
Making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to rip the baby out of the womb,
getting stabbed in the side or something,
kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever
you
want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
I'll let you clear your babies.
Immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure that the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look. We had the safest border in the history of our country. All he had to do was leave it. he decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history.
Oh, look at him now,
we have the
loser.
worst border
I
in
know,
history.
right?
There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed three American soldiers. Killed 3 American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their
Bro, these niggas is fighting in the streets of Chicago with machetes, and he said there's no terrorists coming here? Where the hell did they get machetes at?
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls
he looked
over
like
the
how
last few
dare you.
days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother. And he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country. We're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, or we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress. All of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in.
1.1K.
Sad day.
Y'all showing out.
1.1K
Yeah, 1.1K views. Y'all going crazy.
If y'all ain't see, our anniversary is tomorrow. We make 1 year. 1 year.
1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery. World War I cemetery he refused to go to.
Isn't the D-Day thing when he shit his pants, y'all?
And he told me,
talking about bro, Biden is not okay.
Losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
Oh, we get some emotion. Oh.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We had 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
Four-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
Basically.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president, they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when they attacked.
They should have had the live crowd.
Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans of Afghanistan during that airlift.
Or they would have been paid actors.
We found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Ukraine,
it's actually pretty
do whatever
cool.
you want and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish. Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute. I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
Acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? You think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries?
There a difference
And so if
between
you
Russia?
want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, and by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
Oh, wow.
President Biden,
You told Joe Biden to do that.
you've
I
put
didn't,
forward a
but if
proposal
that's true,
to
that's crazy.
resolve
Look, he's
this
looking at it.
conflict. But so far, Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the Security Council
No, it really is.
straight through the G7 endorsed the plan I put forward. Which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one.
The truth is Putin doesn't want part of this one world government. Yeah, I could see that. If you pay attention to where America's going or where the West is going, it's like, no.
2,000-pound bombs.
No.
They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them as far as Israel and
you're black though.
But you're worried
Israel's
about
the
me.
one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep
You're worried
going
about
is
him
Hamas.
responding to us.
Actually, Israel is the one, and you
why
should
do you
let him
even
go and let him finish the
interact
job.
with his
He
family?
doesn't
Why
want to do it.
just-
He's become like a Palestinian, but
Thank
they
you
don't
for
like him
defending white
because he's
people
a
when
very
nobody
bad
else does.
Palestinian. He's a weak one.
And I know he's a
President Biden, you have a
because the
minute?
first thing he
I've
got
never
on
heard
his
so
page
much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to
Which I
get out
see.
of NATO. You're going to
Never
stay in
mind.
NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have, our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to
Bro,
avoid
Biden
a
got
war
the pen in his hand
because
because
war in Europe. What happens
he's
if
reading
in fact
notes.
We have Putin
You wanna say
continuing
Trump
to
is
go
high as a
into
kite? No,
NATO.
he's not.
Even
What?
Article 5
Are you
agreement.
stupid?
Attack on one is attack
You know it's
on
somebody
all.
stupid when
You
they're
want
not
to
following
start the
my
nuclear
page.
war he keeps talking about. Go ahead.
Like,
Let Putin
how
go
do you
in
even
and
find my
control
page?
Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump,
Trump is
just to
cooking this too.
follow
I know,
up,
right?
Would you support the
Hey, we
creation
got
of an
2K
independent Palestinian state
2K
in order to
views.
achieve peace in the
Go
region?
crazy.
I'd have to
2K
see, but
views.
before we do that,
Show some
the
love,
problem
guys. Our
we have
anniversary.
is that we spend
Show
all the
some love.
money.
It's our anniversary.
So they kill us on trade. I
Cashapp.
made great trade deals
Please.
with the European nations. Because if you add them up,
Support-
they're about the
support
same
black
size
love.
economically.
We ain't
Their
black.
economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have. But we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is
somebody
they don't
else.
want to
Those are
pay.
super professional
And the only
foods.
reason
Right.
that he can
Why are y'all on
play
our
games
dick?
with NATO is because
Why
I
are y'all
got
on
them
our
to put up
dick?
hundreds of billions of dollars.
Why
I
are y'all
said,
even on
and he's right about this.
political
I said, no,
X right now?
I'm not going to support NATO
You
if you
dumb
don't pay.
cunts.
They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia?
And this dude got
at a very secret meeting of the
hashtag vote against
28
racism in his bio. Yeah, he
states
just
at
called
that
us a
time,
racial
the
slur.
nations at that time. And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't
Thanks,
do that.
guys.
And you know what happened?
Thanks,
Billions
guys.
and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's
Thank you.
bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021.
Here we
You
go.
rallied your supporters
Here
that
we go.
day. Some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore
The
an
election
oath
was
to,
all
quote,
rigged.
preserve, protect, and defend,
Riggers.
unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people.
I mean,
what
that
happened
wasn't
to
the question,
United
Trump.
States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization,
The
which I'm sure
question
at some point you'll be
was
talking about. where he
responding
goes after his
to
political
January
opponent 'cause he
6th,
can't beat him
them
fair
storming
and
the
square.
Capitol.
You have 80
You could have
seconds
just
left.
said-
My question was, what do you
Right.
say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't
Right.
say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically.
Right, that's all you
and
had to
Nancy
say.
Pelosi, if you just watched the
Everybody knows
news from
that.
2 days ago,
Even though it ain't
Yeah,
anything
on
do
tape
it.
to
January
her
6th.
daughter,
But you know-
who was
you
a
know that-
You
documentary
still think that January
filmmaker,
6th is
like they say.
You're
But you're
retarded.
saying, oh, no,
And
it's
I
my
told him about
responsibility.
But
I was responsible
the thing
for this.
is, when they asked him the
'Cause I
first
offered
time, he didn't answer the
10,000
question. I'm like,
soldiers
look,
of
he's
National
deflecting.
Guard.
He's not answering the question.
And she turned
He could have
him
just said,
down,
I
and the
did.
mayor of-
What you just said.
in
I didn't
writing,
tell
by
him
the
to
way,
do
the
that.
mayor
He said
in writing turned it down. The mayor of
he had to throw his
D.C.
shade first
They
about
turned it down. I offered
how
10,000
everything was
because
better
I could see
during January 6th.
virtually
Even by
nothing
comparison,
to do. They asked
even
me to
if it
go make
was
a speech. I could see what was happening.
insurrection.
Everybody was saying they're going to be there on
At
January
least the
6th.
border
They're going to
wasn't
be
being
there.
flooded by
And I said, you
commies
know what? There's a
and
lot of people
terrorists.
coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said,
Bro,
they ought
look
to
at
have some
Biden.
National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her, and she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours. 3 hours watching.
Yeah, Trump do need to stop listening to his PR team go with his gut. Trump know what to say. Trump know what people want to hear. He needs to just go ahead and do it.
Call for a stop to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots.
Seen Trump in their politics long enough to know how to play it.
In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out, and now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden.
Wow, he's just spewing the propaganda.
Some people.
We're really bringing that up again?
Wow, the propaganda.
That you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject,
I remember when that was happening, they was like, Trump's going to get the martial law. He's bringing the national law in.
The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
What is he
The
looking
only
at?
person on this stage is a convicted felon. Is the man I'm looking at.
He got a couple of teleprompters.
And the fact of the matter is,
The fact is nobody there.
True.
What is he looking at?
The fact is that there was no effort on his
I don't
part
see Trump looking
to
over
stop
there.
what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots.
What did they do to statues, Biden?
Come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had,
The fact of the matter is, you've seen people pose as Trump supporters. They do it all the time. You don't see nobody posing as a Biden supporter.
Like he's fighting a grand jury and then talking about all that
we
stuff.
denounce these guys.
Because he knows like he's
We denounce the
spewing
people we're
gobbledygook.
talking about now.
And but during that exact same year, niggas was running ransack throughout Chicago and every other major city for BLM.
I'm going to
and that apparently
give
wasn't
you
a problem.
minute, President
So he
Trump,
sounded
for
like
a
a
follow-up
hypocrite.
question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border. Telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with
They
the
got Joe Biden
This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir.
Corinne Jean-Pierre.
Well, you want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous.
That you did anything wrong? So everything you did was right?
The idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong.
But that's what you're doing.
Never spoken like that before. No president in our history has
spoken like that, but you're doing it.
The crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the billions of dollars you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things.
I thought y'all said y'all was going to fact check this.
Porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant. I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals.
They ain't zooming in on Trump.
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office.
Now he should bring up him snipping his kids.
That case is going to
and
be
get in the
appealed
shower with
and
his
won.
daughter.
We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam. And it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around.
I bet you do know that.
A whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any presidents say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son and dad had decided
when did Trump say that? I thought
said I wasn't going to run
Kanye said that.
Until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia.
What is he talking about?
People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches.
Oh my God, he is baiting. He is baiting.
Sang when back in Germany.
All the propaganda tonight. Guess what? It's going to be stupid ass niggas.
Bruh, they're probably on the teleprompter. They just showing pictures of stuff and he's naming them off. Because what is he talking about?
And the ones he said, I think they're fine people on both sides. What American president would ever say, Nazis coming out of fields, carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas? We're fine.
You said that already.
This is a guy who says Hitler's done some good things.
Hitler.
You said that already.
Hitler's done. That's what he said.
Hitler.
This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story's been totally
That's what I would call a dog question.
Because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency.
Exactly. Where is the fact checking? There is none.
The worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow
all you have to do is listen to what we said.
I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy.
That's how you know it's true.
If he thought
listen to what we said.
People coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Wow.
This is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Nah, for real.
So, guys, who's winning? If you say Joe Biden's winning, I'm going to assume this year.
Oh man. Yeah, that.
It's over.
Yeah, it's not even up for debate. Trump is killing him.
This is embarrassing.
Biden is lying. Where are the fact checkers? Nobody's fact checking anything. They just, bruh, that man talking about racism, swastika, Nazis, pitchforks, and like, bruh.
He said bleach. That was
what? He said the bloodbath. This man is a propaganda machine.
He said women are getting raped by their sisters and needing a.
Oh, goodness! And then he brought up the migrants raping people, and like that's not your fault. Didn't you bring them over here? What is he talking about? No, one thing I would say is that, like I said earlier, I wish that Trump would have just answered that J6 question off back. Like he didn't. Like he's not. You're not guilty of that. You're not guilty. You don't need to pander. You don't need to say any. You don't need to sit there and send shots to Joe Biden. And he said it afterwards. I didn't say that. I didn't tell them to go do that. I told them to peacefully and patriotically. That's it. That's it. But now, how much you want to bet they're gonna take that one clip of them asking him that question and him deflecting that, and that's gonna be the next viral clip. They're gonna look. He can't even answer a question. You know, all the Democrats, all the libtards, and the bliggity blacks. That's gonna be the one thing that they say. One thing. Well, so far, Biden is clearly on. I don't know if he's on drugs.
Him drooling. He's literally drooling, bro.
No way.
No. He has drool on his face.
No way, bro.
He's slapping.
You see that little glint? No way. No way.
What is this on the TV?
How is he drooling but his mouth dry? That boy had his mouth open the whole time. Holy crap.
He's on drugs.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for the most part, at least they letting them talk. Yeah, it's still Trump all the way. Still,
right, you can literally see him reading the script. Like,
look, you can't see him reading a script. He's reading a script. He's sitting there with a pen. Why they give him a pen?
A notebook.
Why they give him a pen? He got a
notebook. He's sitting there reading his little notes.
He got to remember to scratch off the stuff he already said, or he's gonna repeat itself. And he did repeat himself. That last question, he literally said, he said all the talking points. Then he recycled it and said all the talking points again in the same response.
Right. When let's go back to when Biden literally said that girls are getting raped by their sisters and getting pregnant. Are we talking about transgender? Is that a transgender thing? I wonder if that's gonna come up in there.
Bruh, Trump said that in the case of rape, incest, and the life of the mother, he's okay with it. Those are the exceptions. But Biden said, well, he wants to get rid of it altogether. It's like if you can't see this, then you're blind, because Biden is saying, well, Trump is saying this. Trump wants to do this, and Trump is saying, like, well, no, that's not true. I believe this, this, and this. And Biden comes right back and said, well, he believes this, this, and this. It's like, bro, are you not listening to what he's saying? And how can you be a Biden supporter and not be concerned for him?
3 minutes ago, the Biden page said, what American president would ever say that people wearing swastikas are fine? Just a lie. They post from the Snow fact check. No, Trump did not call neo-Nazis and white supremacists
you
very
both
fine.
faced in your first terms.
They're lying.
And you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earned far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
Came to the stream because y'all are actually breaking it down. Thank you. That's what we do, baby.
Started than any time in history. Number 2, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number 3,
the wages of black unemployment. What are you talking about?
And dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate rations of
You mean niggas that don't want to be white people?
Out of their houses.
That's what it is.
And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half.
Just like you cut them babies in half, boy.
Costs. You got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the
Biden is really helping Trump tonight. Biden is Trump's biggest cheerleader.
Done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
The biggest supporter.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home, so they can get started. I made sure
that count for us?
Situation
or we ain't black?
All those black families.
Oh no, BLB. Trump's not gonna say that the two-parent household thing. I don't even think he knows that that's a problem. He need to take some information from Larry Elder. I would have voted for Larry Elder, but
all the rest
I don't think Trump understands that that's a problem. I don't know.
And we're going to do a whole lot more.
I don't know.
For black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
That'd be nice.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody.
It's killing everybody.
It's killing people. Shit. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled.
What's CGM?
They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18.
Whoa, what do you mean black
19
jobs?
And even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
They're taking white jobs, too.
They're taking everybody's jobs.
They're taking
They're taking jobs because the jobs are available. Because these niggas are broke.
50% unemployment. Decimated the economy. Absolutely decimated the economy.
But
That's
he didn't,
why there was
though.
no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs.
You said he decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation?
Including minority communities.
Bro, this nigga's
retarded. Sure
retarded.
that they have health insurance. We have covered, the ACA has increased. I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again. And they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops.
Put more police on us.
Equity and making sure people have
where is the fact check? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
By his tremendous.
Last time I took the Democrats were for the defund police.
This nigga is.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising
Now see that clown face behind her?
Former President Trump used vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to
please
slow
say it's
the
a hoax.
climate crisis?
Trump, please.
Let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group.
Period.
And what
Right,
he's
they
done
didn't
to
let
the
him
black
answer that, did they?
population
No, they just let him
is
say
horrible,
stupid
including the
dumb
fact that for 10 years he
for the
called them
clips.
super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget
Global
that.
warming is
Super
fake.
predators
Yeah, it
was
is.
his name.
Please say
and he
it's
called
fake.
it to
They had to
and they've
change
taken
it to
great offense
climate
at it,
change
and now
because
see it happening.
they need to
But when
broaden
they see
it
what I
because
did
it's
for
fake.
criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with with Tim, as you know. Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job.
Trump,
Great senator from
Negroes.
South
Come
Carolina.
Because he knows that you
came to me
Negroes
with
are
the
so
idea, and it was a
stupid.
great idea. It's one of the most successful
can't
economic
stand
development
CNN
acts
Trump had 'em.
ever
Look
in
at
the
that.
country. Opportunity zones.
I bet it's
And
going to
the
get
biggest
triggered right now. I bet I can
beneficiary
go
are
on my
blacks,
page
and that's
Right.
why we have the best numbers with them in
Cope C.
maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a
He did.
horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
Well, okay.
That's all we have to say about that.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
That's an answer.
That's fair.
That's the point I would have gave. I'd be like, what are you talking
Look, we did that.
The most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $50
How can
billion
Biden talk again? They both answered the question. Next question.
Because they don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just don't have the money. But now they'll be able to
Climate
get
change is a scam.
Jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that
You got climate change activists riding private jets, and ain't nobody saying nothing to China.
The cleanest water. He hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord.
They let Joe Biden freestyle. They didn't even ask him a question.
Because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, where there's no way back.
Yeah, good job switching this to clean water. Yeah, indeed.
Is climate change.
I mean, because if we learn the water cycle, I guess it would be good to have clean water evaporating, right?
The Paris Accord was
I
going
don't
to
know what
cost
that
us
means. I
$1
don't know.
trillion,
The colleges for the
and
immigrants.
China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones who was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Hey, we had 3K views.
3K, oh my
Appreciate
God.
y'all. Anniversary tomorrow. Show some love, guys. Cashapp, Zelle, Venmo.
Tomorrow's our 1 year anniversary.
Tomorrow's our 1 year anniversary.
We've not able to. The United States
Show
can't
us
get
some
us
love.
under control.
If you support black
in the
love,
world. Number
even
one,
though we ain't black.
we're making significant progress.
Allegedly.
By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people who learn how to deal with climate, just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about
Here comes the shade.
About climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company.
Why would they reduce the price if the cost of making a product is going up?
And by the way,
he's asking them to lose money.
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
Yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
Oh my
Right now,
God. Bruh,
everybody
if
making
everybody's paying
$170,000
the same
6%
percentage of their money,
of their
why
income
is that
is a
not
paycheck
fair?
Every single time they get a paycheck.
It's
from the
literally
government.
fair. It's literally fair. That is
The idea that
equity.
they're gonna- I'm not
No,
gonna
that's
argue
equality.
with
That
you.
is literally everybody's
they
paying
pay
8 or however much they
millionaires
paying.
pay
I don't know the percentage, but everybody's paying the same percent.
So no one after
Why? How's that not fair?
I-
But you want them to pay
Social
more
Security
because they have more money.
under
That doesn't even make any
$400,000
sense. That's not
after that
fair.
begin to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
It's like, what do you consider wealthy, Mr. Biden?
Right.
Because compared to a third world country, we
So you
all
still have 82 seconds
We
left.
sit here
Are there
watching
any
TV.
other
Biden
measures
doesn't
that you
know
think
what
that
the
would
F
be
he
able
talking
to,
about.
keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing will do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security.
I like how he's
Social
trying to
Security and
speak
Medicare.
for Trump like Trump's not right there.
And that's what- and if you look
He's
at
so
the
good at
program
trying to
put
tell
forward
people
by
what Trump
the
wants to
House
do
Republican caucus
when Trump
that
is
he
like right there and
supports
he's
is
just
that
like,
they
no,
want
this
to
guy's
build a
lying.
wall. The
And they're still
idea
going to
that
believe
we
Biden.
don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40
Yeah, he's reading the notes that people gave him. Yeah, for sure. That's confirmed.
The only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where we talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He could look you in the face. About so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation.
At this point,
the
he's just up there
losers and
lying.
sucker story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger.
Why is Biden
before.
whispering?
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with
Biden,
Trump
put the pen
when he
down.
said it. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, wait, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing
Nah, Biden doesn't have an
economy in the world.
earpiece. He has a
The reason
notebook
why
to
we're the
read.
most successful
You say you
economy
got
in the world. We're
Got an
doing better
earpiece?
than any other nation in the
Turn his head
world.
again.
And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much.
Oh,
Let's
wow.
turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for two children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more
working to pay
affordable?
somebody else to take care of your child, dumbass.
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said
Right, that
that's
has
why he
nothing to-
made it up.
that's-
But we have
that's-
19 people that said
Right.
I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons?
All right, bro, you're the president. You should be able to walk in there and say you're fired.
Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country.
I feel like we don't feel wasting time, bro. There's no debate between us.
A nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He
and a dummy would be like,
two sides of the same coin, two wings of the same bird.
Like, bro,
shut up. And I don't think
but you vote
we just can't
Democrat. Shut up.
If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We
Biden wins, this
country's
country's
left
finished
anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We are the most admired country in the world.
No.
The United States of America.
No.
There's nothing beyond our capacity. We're the finest military in the history of the world.
Admired.
The finest in the history of the world.
Respected, boy.
No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us.
Bro, the migrants think we weak. That's why they come here.
That we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians.
2024.
They had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. Best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care, he did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst. Because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay?
What's the president supposed to do
if
about
I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't.
Yeah, he does think it's amusing that we're suffering.
Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say?
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
The average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that are very important. Number 2, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country.
Not $6 gallons of milk, though.
Number 2, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
You lost
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before any country in every way.
Yeah.
And then we had to get tough.
Yeah,
and
some of these questions I don't get.
Across the border,
You do it your life.
it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought a certain dog.
That's
the
an
most
excellent point.
incredible thing you've ever seen.
I don't get what the president's supposed to do about your decision to do fentanyl.
Very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machines that can detect fentanyl. These big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border.
Yeah, just close the border, bro. That's not a discussion.
Part of the deal we put together. This bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of.
Somebody said you guys are the best. Happy anniversary. Can't wait to see little stinkers running around in the background of your business. Now get busy.
He called his Republican colleague, said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically."
Okay, video over.
It's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, because this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars.
Oh, gosh, yeah, I want to hear Biden feel his draws in real time. That'd be crazy.
Quickly, as soon as I take office, before I take office, I said,
yeah, we see something like that live.
As soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Close the border, declare the cartels terrorists, and send special forces.
That voters have about each of you. President Biden, you will be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Oh, my goodness.
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized.
Being in the same family as propaganda machines is crazy work. It's crazy work, bro.
It's depressing.
This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less confident. I think that just
He just said Trump is 3 years younger and a lot less competent.
That
what he is
as
also
I said, 50 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs.
I'm trying to figure out
More
what Trump
investment
lied.
in America. Over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. Well, the whole
Man, I'm finna share my live. I'm finna share our live on Facebook.
We're watching the same debate.
We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest
one of our
jobs
family members
overseas
literally
and to
literally
bring home
made
the product.
a status on
So
Facebook saying
I
Trump
went
was
to
lying.
South Korea. I convinced
Obviously,
Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States, and they're. Guess what?
It's a nightmare.
Those fabs they call to build these chips. Those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them, and there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country.
We are.
The president talked like this before.
We are a failing country. What are you talking about, brother?
Major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and our those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc., they don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took just one, a real easy one.
You're senile.
Like go through the first 5 questions, you couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they've never seen anybody ace them.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds. Or 35 pounds.
200 what?
Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what you're. Anyway, just take a look at what he says.
What is the relevance of that, bro?
I'd be happy to have.
That was just so pointless.
I got my handicap.
He's 6'5" and 200 kilograms.
I think the.
Hit 4K. Hit 4K.
We hit 4K. This live busting, shorty. Live busting. Live busting. I gotta say it every time. Show some support, guys. Go ahead, show some love. Cashapp, Venmo, Zelle. It's our anniversary tomorrow. Definitely appreciate any support. Our first anniversary. We've been married for a year.
President Trump, we're going to turn
It's been an amazing year.
to a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
No.
You will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable.
What type of question is that?
I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable.
We have to ask him
and if you would see my statements,
they want him to be like, look, when we cheat.
My statement that I made in the Rose Garden.
When we cheat, because we're going to cheat. I need you to say right here, right now.
In front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places, enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You're in World War III. Let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish,
that's such a goofy question, bro.
Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump. Nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked.
President Trump, the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election,
they really want him to say yeah.
I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous.
We all know that y'all
we'll have a news conference on it in a week. Or we'll have another one of these in a week.
That's such a goofy question.
I will absolutely. There's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments,
Trump said you
no
destroying the
political
country and you
opponent
laughing?
stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed the courts.
Mr. President, that's not the question.
One single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. Ooh. The idea if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate, live from...
Oh, he said, you're a whiner. You're a whiner. Stop whining, boy. Wow. That is this. It's ridiculous, guys. It's ridiculous. Look, if you can't see that Joe Biden is an asshat, then you're too far gone.
Keep that to yourself. Don't come under our shit trying to tell us.
Even if you have legitimate criticisms of Trump, which I have legitimate criticisms of Trump. Yeah, nobody's perfect. You should have legitimate criticisms of Trump. If you don't have any criticisms of Trump, you're in the cult. Right. But the thing is, he's incomparable to Biden. Biden is so far below. Is not even close. The fact that they got these two on stage to debate, the fact that Trump was willing to debate him is like, okay, that just shows how easy it is. It's easy. Biden's sitting there with pre-written notes and answers and stuff. He's still how do you have notes on a live debate? How do you have notes on a live? It's almost like they knew what they was gonna ask you. How do you have notes and answers to questions they never asked you before? Trump seems to be up there freestyling. Trump knows the answers. He talked to people before he went on the debate. Look, this is what it is. You know, just giving you updates, brush up on your facts and stuff like this because they're going to be fact checking. They ain't fact check nothing. Meanwhile, Biden is up there with a notebook.
These people really saying Trump is lying. I'm trying to figure out.
Bro, where did Trump lie?
You're stupid. What did he lie about? Please let me know.
What did he lie about? My thing is, why are you saying Trump lied, but you ain't saying nothing about Biden? When Biden's lied the entire time. Biden hasn't told one truth up there. Do you support the guy that told 99 lies and one truth, or the guy that told 99 truths and one lie? Would you rather that? Would you rather the guy? It seemed like they're going after the guy that told one lie. He probably has an earpiece. People saying he got an earpiece. I haven't seen it. He might do got an earpiece. I wouldn't be surprised. We heard something. I heard something like little mini talking, like a little man talking. That might have been his earpiece in the microphone. I don't know. But yeah, man. It's not even a debate. This debate is for show.
Not even debatable.
This is literally just for show. It's just for show because Biden is.
This is just a litmus test for people. They're trying to see how stupid America.
Yeah, I mean, even if you see how they gear in the questions, they didn't even ask Biden that question. Will you concede or will you accept the election? They didn't even ask Biden that question. Notice they didn't ask Biden that.
What do you mean?
They didn't. Trump spoke last. Biden got to pick the podium. Look, he picked the right side podium so he can hide the earpiece. Interesting.
Yeah, because he has to turn his head the other way. Yeah,
okay.
Notice he keeps looking over here. Like he's trying to hide something.
Back.
We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system.
I just seen it. Right.
Yeah. Do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is,
coincidence.
Nobody making under $400,000 had a single penny.
The fact you saw the clown is hilarious.
And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit, number one. He's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And
how did he increase inflation after he left?
He now wants to tax you more.
He's saying, I have to
and everything that comes in the United States.
That's such a lie. This is the beta.
Well, for example, he wants to get away with get rid of the ability of Medicare to us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it.
Incoherent.
We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter what how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years.
Meds wearing off.
The exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior. All along, it's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Biden is going to destroy this country.
You now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we
literally
want to do this,
he's complaining.
We want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs. But he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's ever seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get, when you're terminally ill, now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts
We don't want to hear y'all
on CNN.
I actually do want to hear it. Because if y'all not going to fact check this, look how dead
And so the first
was.
presidential
No crowd,
debate of
no
the
nothing.
2024 election season is in the books. As you witnessed, President Biden opening this debate and continuing with a very shaky voice, a raspy voice that we have learned from advisors close to him that apparently he's had a cold for the past several days. But he also had a number of wandering answers during this debate. He had a number of facts and accomplishments that he wanted to touted, but I think his voice and sometimes was distracting from that. President Trump offered repeated lies and exaggerations, but then President Biden failed to fact check Trump most of the time. We've got our entire panel here tonight to discuss what we witnessed. John Dickerson, I'll start with you.
For the majority of Americans who don't want this choice, the debate met those expectations. I think you characterized it correctly. What we heard about President Biden is people who know him said, when he was underestimated in the 2020 campaign, people said, look to his convention speech and he exceeded expectations. They said, look to his State of the Union addresses when he exceeded expectations. On the debate stage, he came in well under expectations, both as a matter of performance and as arguing for why his vision for the future is better. As you mentioned, Donald Trump gave fantastical, delusional answers on January 6th, on Charlottesville, on what he said about the theft of the last election. And that matters because he's trying to convince people who saw things with their own eyes that what they saw was not so. And part of being president is seeing things clearly. So how the voters will make something of this, I'm not sure. But for President Biden, who had the behavioral challenge tonight, that's the theatrical challenge.
They told us don't watch the commentary. I mean, because y'all be starting to walk, okay? Y'all already slayed
Look,
in the first 10 seconds.
Look, it cut us off anyway.
Y'all giving Biden excuses. They say he got a cold, so that's the propaganda they going with.
Bruh, I did not say they was gonna jump on Trump not answering January 6th. I said that because that's the only thing they got. Everything else Trump said was solid. Most of what he said was solid. But even the stuff that I disagree with the whole abortion thing, he even said, like, you just got to play politics. I'm playing politics.
Follow your heart.
I'm playing politics. But the fact of the matter is, these folks got right to the propaganda. Right. They didn't waste no time. They didn't waste no time. That is crazy. That's crazy. Everybody in the comments like, don't watch CNN. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. Oh my goodness. I feel like I just got dumber.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh. Immediately. Wow. That was crazy. That debate was like so low energy.
I will say, I made a tweet that's going up. I said, I will say CNN moderators are very neutral, which is a pleasant surprise. They weren't neutral. They were decently neutral.
Yeah.
For CNN. For Common News Network, I expect them to be cutting off, shutting it off.
It could have. We've seen worse.
Yeah.
We've definitely seen worse.
Yeah.
But I think for this one, it wasn't too bad. I think what they were failing in was they was letting Biden respond to Trump's answers after Biden already spoke on the issue. You know, like you get an answer and a rebuttal. They was giving Biden an answer and a rebuttal. I don't know, man, because a lot of times I'm like, what is Biden talking about? Oh, he's responding to Trump. Well, that wasn't. They asked you that question already. You already answered it, and then they said
Who won, guys? Who won?
They said they're gonna fact check. Holy.
Who won?
Look, guys, we have 4.4K viewers. Y'all done showed out. Y'all definitely done showed out. That's crazy. That's crazy. Definitely crazy. Guys on YouTube, guys on Twitter. Like I said, just if y'all want to, go ahead and show some love to us. You got the Twitter, Cashapp, and Venmo. Twitter, Venmo, yeah, got that stuff down here. Yeah, our anniversary is tomorrow. Our anniversary is in 2 hours and 17 minutes. 1 year anniversary. Yeah, guys, this appreciate y'all for tuning in. This is going on 2 hours. Y'all showed out.
Y'all picked us. Y'all picked us.
Jessa, thank you for tuning in thank you for tuning in because of you guys. Y'all made this good. Y'all made this definitely worth it. Love interacting with the comments. Definitely love interact. Y'all make this so worth it. Yeah, so gonna catch you guys next time. If anything else is going on, I guess we can live stream. Since y'all locking in now, y'all could have watched anybody, but y'all watched us. That's love. Appreciate it. All right, so that's it, guys. We're gonna wrap it up.